So I'll be turning right in about 5 seconds. There's a very expensive government installation right behind the small market. It goes by the name Karimenu II Dam, one of the biggest dams in the country, built at a cost of 24 billion Kenya shillings, goes 60 meters in depth and covering some 600 acres of land. And so you can imagine the magnitude of the project. Don't mind the small town, this is just a decoy. The real town is some 50 meters along the road that I just left. So as usual, I'll be taking you there later. Give you some very interesting numbers. You want to know so much about the locals as much as you want to know about the dam. I will also be showing you how the dam became a disaster to the locals. So I'm approaching the dam in a few. You know where I'm from, we believe the dam is the whole water thing. But I'm told the dam is the concrete wall that holds the water. And so in the West, especially in the US, the whole water body that we call the dam here, they would comfortably refer to it as a lake. I'm sure I have enough brothers and sisters watching from there. Shout out to all watching from the diaspora, the US, the UK, the Middle East. Shout out to my big bro Steve Mutumbo, all the way from East London. So as I was telling you before I started greeting the whole world, you'll have to excuse my Luya jeans. The real dam is somewhere here, and you can imagine how mighty is that thing. Of course, they have sealed off the area. You can see the blue gate right ahead. There's no unauthorized person past that gate. You know, in most war-torn countries, this will be a military installation. You know, before they built the dam, this road was still existing. And we used it to go to the other side of the village. There was a girls' school somewhere up there. It went by the name, something to do with Kiriko. I don't know whether it still exists. And I can also remember a very beautiful Catholic church. You know, I started this lone traveling thing some many years ago, only that I was not recording. So the last time I passed here was around 2021. And at that time, the dam was still under construction. And I found the Chinese brothers digging one of the biggest holes I've ever seen in my life. And it was somewhere there. You see that red swell thing? I can bet that is the deepest part of this dam. If you look clearly, you can see that that was a whole ridge that they had to cut it just to make some space for the dam. So there's a brand new school on this side of the road, probably built by the Chinese as part of their CSR. You know, government projects comes with a lot of goodies, especially when done in the correct manner. And so the village got a brand new school. But they also lost. I'll be coming to that in a few seconds, and I'll show you exactly how they lost. They have also planted some really nice trees. You know, there was a viral video that was recorded some weeks to the last general elections. That was around August 2022. And the then President of the Republic, President Kenyatta, speaking in his mama tongue. I don't recall the real context of his conversation, but I guess he was giving his opinion on how the people should vote, especially to the people of Murima. And he said something like, oh, one day when the times will be so bad, he'll be looking for me. And I'll be like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. I just came to see the trees. So I know you wonder where my story is going, but he meant these trees around the dam because he was standing right here. So let's keep marching forward. There's nicer things to see right ahead. So the dam was constructed by the Chinese, and it was jointly funded by the Kenyan government and the China's Exim Bank. That is the Chinese Export and Import Bank. The implementation was in form of a joint venture between two companies. That is the International Holding Corporation and Shanghai Municipal Engineering Design Institute. So initially, the dam was expected to produce 23,000 cubic meters of water per day. And the primary target, well, not the city of Nairobi, as most of you think, but the upcoming towns of Juja, Thika, Ruiru, and the surrounding. So I want to show you something. especially where the dam has become a disaster to the locals. You can see there's a homestead here and a beautiful house. And the water body is just a few meters down there. And so you can imagine the risk that comes with that. The mosquitoes, the cold. You know, the water body is so massive to an extent that it changes the weather pattern of the area. I'm sure the old-timers from the Ndakaini area, which is one of the biggest dams in the country, especially those who are around when the dam was being constructed, they will confirm this on the comment section down there. It is such a beauty, right? But I have a weird fear for still water. I don't know what kind of a phobia is that. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Oops, how will you insult an innocent old-timer like myself? Anyways, I wish the same to the kid who wrote that. Anyways, there's another disaster that struck. Let me zoom for you so that I can show you something. You see that lonely house right there? There is an electric pole right inside the dam. And that tells you something. That after the construction of the big, beautiful, massive dam, and the water started filling in, the water body went rogue, against everyone's prediction, and started claiming new land that was not part of the plan. What do I mean? Some landowners who initially were not part of the compensation program found themselves in a dilemma years later. The dam was growing massive day by day, claiming their land. You can imagine you will wake up someday and find your cowshed or your toilet is gone. The next morning, the water is at your doorstep. You can imagine at that point, the entire project became a disaster. And if you come from this area and you are watching us, you can tell us on the comment section down below how many times you demonstrated last year in 2023 for the same reason. It was a real problem, trust me. Even at some point, people started dying. The dam was claiming lives. At some point, the locals threatened to drain the swamp, if you know what I mean, of course. Oops, there's a gorgeous couple here. The dam area can be used for picnic by you lovers out there. It's quite unfortunate I'm out here wandering in the mountains alone. But thanks to the Almighty, I have your company. I want to show you something real quick. I know you have been eating pineapples for years, and some naughty you have been even brewing homemade liquor with it. I know your nasty behaviors, but do you know how pineapples are farmed? So this is a pineapple plantation. Not the healthiest plants, of course. We still have the beautiful dam down there. But I want to show you more healthy pineapples. You can see there's another plantation up here. I can even spot a ready-to-eat pineapple. You know, I just had an honest conversation with myself. And I just said to myself that the owner of that plantation is a very lucky guy. You know, Mr. Lone Traveler is just passing by here as an adult. If you had brought me here many years ago, that is, of course, before they had taken me down to the river, I could have eaten a few pineapples on the owner's bill. Why lie? So I'm exiting the dam area. It was a beautiful place. I really enjoyed myself. And there's a small town right here. But remember, I told you to ignore it. It is just a decoy. The real town is some 50 meters ahead, and it goes by the name Kanyoni. I want to get there and explore it. It is also good to know that the entire village also goes by the same name, that is Kanyoni. And so the shopping center, which I'll be hitting in a few seconds, it got its name from the village, that is Kanyoni. And for those who understand the local language, I'm sure you know that Kanyoni is a Kikuyu word that means a small bird. So to put it into perspective, a bird is called nyoni in Kikuyu. And so the prefix ka signifies the small size of the bird. Well, I'm not so sure where the name came from, but I have a few friends who goes by the same name and came from the area. And so my good guess is that the town got its name from the founder who went by the same name, Kanyoni. Anyways, if you have the correct information on the same, you can tell us on the comment section down there. Just feel free to school us. I'm approaching the small beautiful town of Kanyoni. You can count the number of pickups and probox as we go. Just feel free and welcome to Murima. By the way, shout out to the house of Mombi. I see you. You know they are the majority around this place. And if you ever want to get something from your Kikuyu friends, as a group of course, just address them by that name. They really adore their matriarchal origin. Anyways, let's keep moving. I was just admiring the small town. And don't forget, behind these story buildings is the dam, the beautiful Karimenu Dam. Well, I can see the small town has a financial institution. That's the first thing I see. That is the circle. And that tells you something about this small town as far as money is concerned. Of course, a few drinking joints here and there. But pro boxes, oops. It seems like it is the cow of choice here. So the small town has a total population of 5,561 people. Quite small, right? And in terms of the population density, there are 639 people living in a square kilometer, meaning that the area is scarcely populated. But there's nothing big about that. This is a village. What do you expect? In terms of gender distribution, as usual, the ladies are leading the pack at 2,801, which is 50.4% of the aggregate population, while their male counterpart comes second. Of course, is there any other gender? And they are 2,760, which is approximately 49.6% of the total population. Oops, another pro box. Anyways, pro box shenanigans aside, I'm just watching that brother with a motorbike and wondering, how powerful is this thing? It seems like Nduthi is the modern day donkey. Seems like the new liquor stock has just arrived in town. If you know, you know. The small town is quite beautiful. It is an agricultural town. You can call it a shopping center. There's a lot of food here. They're being sold all over, from raw bananas, of course pineapples, sugar canes, indigenous food like arrowroots, sweet potatoes. I have also seen a number of vendors selling yams. But remember, the tea or tea plantations are the main thing around here. Anyways, let me leave it at that. And please continue watching the scenic video as I continue with my journey westward. But also make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is Village to Town TV, with me, Mr. Lone Traveler, of course. That is a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. Remember, as we say, every village has a story. That is including yours, of course. And so we are coming there. Make sure you write to us and suggest where you should come next. Also, keep the conversation going. Tell us what you think about today's video, about the dam, the small town. Do you know the area? Do you come from here? Have you ever visited here? Would you love to live here? Just tell us. Feel free. Also, make sure to check out our sister channel, that is Kiku Traveling Media. Good gracious.